So what if I told you the difference between successful DeFi investors and struggling DeFi investors has nothing to do with capital, nothing to do with APR, but rather just the framework and system that's implemented within the portfolio? I've personally talked to hundreds of DeFi investors at this point in time, both people that I've personally worked one-on-one with, people that I've worked with in a broader capacity, and even people that I haven't even worked with at all. And I've identified one key problem that is causing the majority of DeFi portfolios to leak capital consistently. And that right there is the system and framework behind the portfolio. Most investors are putting a blindfold on and they're shooting a sniper at a target and consistently missing. Well, maybe if they took the blindfold off, they would actually be able to hit a bullseye. The same exact thing goes for investing in DeFi. You don't want to put a blindfold on and start investing. It's a horrible idea. It's like giving your portfolio to a monkey and telling them to invest in and make money. It makes more sense to identify your goals and have a strategy and framework in place to actually achieve and accomplish those goals, so that way you can generate consistent passive income from your portfolio. So that way, if you want to rely on it as a supplemental income, you can. Or if you want to maximize your returns this bull run, you can. Or if you just want to diversify your traditional investment streams, you can. So with that being said, I want to talk about myself for 30 seconds and then we'll get on to the fun stuff. I've been investing into DeFi for 4 years now, and I've personally lost $100,000 in this industry. Now with that being said, I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars after those losses, but my goal is to educate as many people as possible and help people avoid those multi-20, 50, $100,000 losses when getting into this industry and start to profit essentially instantaneously. Basically, I would rather you pay a couple $100 or even a couple $1,000 to avoid multi-$10,000, $15,000, even $50,000 to $100,000 mistakes. I personally worked with institutions before, helping them establish their portfolio strategy and consulting with them on the outside and even some on the inside. And now with that being said, I want to talk about something called positions versus portfolios. Most DeFi investors, including potentially yourself, are doing this right here. They're establishing positions. They are not establishing a portfolio. And there's a huge difference between the two. Obviously, a portfolio consists of multiple positions underneath it. We all know that, right? But if you're just throwing together a couple different positions, maybe this one's generating a 100% APR, this one's generating a 150% APR, maybe this one over here is generating an 80% APR, and they are not complementing each other and they're not intertwined, basically, you're doing it completely wrong. Your portfolio should be a group of positions that consistently complement each other, that balance each other out in terms of risk, but also return that you are generating, and of course that you can use to compound across. Like for example, in my portfolio, not in my positions, in my portfolio, I have a couple different strategies underneath it, and those strategies consist of different positions. For example, I have Ethereum to Aether. Now this Ethereum to Aether strategy has multiple positions underneath it. A bunch of those positions are actually exited by now because I've rebalanced it, and then I have one opened right now, which is active, which is consistently generating me income. Now the first position actually lost me money. I beat HODL, right? But I lost money on it. The second position made me money, and the third position is currently making me money as well. With that being said, I'm not defining my performance based on this loser over here. I'm defining my performance on the overall scale of Ethereum to Aether. But I am looking at the historical data to say, hey, I started losing money on this because the market went down. Yes, I was still beating HODL, but now I'm actually making money and still beating HODL. And now I'm still making money and beating HODL. I'm analyzing that as a strategy. And I have multiple other positions as well. Like another one that I have is going to be Ethereum to Aave. Once again, same exact situation. Ethereum to Aave is made up of multiple positions over time. Sometimes I'll even have two positions at once. But the point is, these ones complement each other because I have a good chunk of my portfolio, roughly $25,000 deployed in this Ethereum to Aether one right here, another $15,000 deployed into Ethereum to Aave. With that being said, Ethereum to Aave is doing a lower return. It's also lower risk, which means that it makes more sense to take the income that I'm generating from Ethereum to Aether and compound it into Ethereum to Aave, or compound it over into my HODL portfolio, which is completely separate. By having a portfolio that consists of all these different moving pieces, I am able to go from just having, oh, here's a position generating 100% APR, one generating 150% APR, one generating 80% APR, to a portfolio that is consistently generating on average about 120% APR right now. Now, what's the difference? Because a lot of you may say, well, if you average these out, it's probably going to come out to 120% APR. Yes, but the thing is, these positions, they are not consistent. That's where you're going wrong. Not consistent, not sustainable. Whereas an actual portfolio is consistent and sustainable, and it is going to continue to generate the income that you are generating, as opposed to your collection of positions, we may call it, doing at one day a 50% APR and then the next day a 150% APR and going all over this spectrum basically. We don't want to be all over the spectrum. We want to settle for something that is consistent and going to put money in our pockets every single day. I've personally worked with people that have this right here, a group of positions, and let me tell you what it looks like. It looks like having a bunch of bubbles just everywhere, right? If you were to go to Walmart and buy one of those $1, $2 little things where you could blow bubbles out of it, and you blow the bubbles out of it and the bubbles are everywhere basically, that would be exactly what a group of positions look like, right? And they're just constantly compounding into themselves and oftentimes not even making money, because sometimes when you're compounding into itself, it looks like you're profiting against HODL, but you're actually not profiting against HODL. Whereas an actual portfolio is going to be completely different than that. A portfolio is going to be a couple bubbles just like this, which have multiple bubbles underneath it, but it's organized basically, something like this. And then when it comes time to compounding, maybe this bubble over here is putting money into the HODL bag, or maybe this high risk bubble right here is putting money into a lower risk position over here, and they're complementing each other basically. Or maybe you're taking the income from this high risk position and buying up meme coins or high risk assets or something along those lines, but you are just buying assets and you're putting them into HODL assets, the same assets that maybe you are putting in a liquidity pool. There's so many different strategies that you can do with a portfolio. So again, this group of positions right here is not going to be consistent or sustainable, which is ultimately going to bring you uncertainty. It's going to bring you stress when it comes to managing it, and also the fear of not knowing what to do in the market. I want to tell you guys something right now. If you are staying up at night thinking about if you need to rebalance your positions, or even just thinking about your positions in general, you do not have the right strategy in place. You might have some form of strategy, you might have no strategy whatsoever, but you do not have the right one in place, because you should not be going to sleep thinking about your positions, wondering if they're going to fall out of range, wondering if they are going to be at a profit or loss in the morning. You should have a system in place, a framework that you can rely on. And if you can rely on a framework, you can go to sleep without thinking about it, because you know that your framework is going to hold up. So with that being said, I want to walk you through my framework, the same one that I spent the last 4 years building using my prior experience in decentralized finance. The first phase is blueprint, right? We find out what our goals are, and then from there, we determine our capital allocation timeline. And after we've done that, we start to evaluate different assets to make sure that we want to include them in the portfolio because they're high growth assets. And then of course we move on. It's pretty simple. We move on to construct, where now we're going to go out and start to find the different positions to include in our portfolio. We're going to start to simulate the position performance, back test it based on volatility in markets, whether it's upside potential or downside potential. And then we're going to determine which ones we actually want to allocate in the portfolio. We move on into phase 3, where we finalize the portfolio. We simulate the overall portfolio performance to see how the portfolio holds up in different market circumstances. Once again, simulating the performance as a portfolio, not just as a single position. And then we get deployed in those positions. After we do that, we create a system for managing the portfolio on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, maybe every couple days, whatever it may be. There's going to be a system for managing that portfolio, a system so you know what to do, so you're not staying up at night thinking about your DeFi positions. And then of course, we're going to have tracking systems that are either fully automated that tell us everything we need to know about our positions, or 90% automated that tell us everything that we need to know about our positions. But the point is, we need data to make decisions, and we will make data-driven decisions. And you should also create your own strategy for rebalancing your portfolio, but also rebalancing positions and just overall strategies. If we were to go back to the whiteboard, we have a portfolio, and then right under the portfolio, we have strategies, multiple of these, right? Sometimes we have one, but a lot of the times we're going to have multiple of them. And you do want to diversify, because if you just have one strategy, that might not be the best idea unless you have like ultra high conviction. And then under the strategies, we have positions basically. And then of course, there is one more layer, which is the actual assets that are in those positions basically, because that's what we have exposure to. As you can see, they all complement each other. In order to have a portfolio, you have to have strategies, which have to have positions, which have to have assets. But you can have assets without having a portfolio. You can have positions without having a portfolio. You can have strategies without having a portfolio, right? But the point is, you need a portfolio. You do not just need strategies. You do not just need positions. You do not just need assets. You need all of these to create this right here, a portfolio that consistently generates you passive income through DeFi. Now, that being said, I just revealed our process, and I want you to think about our process right here: the blueprint, construct, launch, and manage. And then eventually after that, dive into the scaling aspect and think if that makes sense for your portfolio. Would you follow a process like that? And if you would, I want you to hear me out for the next couple minutes. We've created a tailored solution where we'll help you implement that process directly into your portfolio. And within the first 90 days of working together, we aim for APRs of between 50 and 150% APR. We aim to minimize the actual opportunity cost cost of being in your portfolio. So that means that you are outperforming basic HODL metrics. We aim to optimize your position management so that way you are making the most money possible while spending the least money possible. And when I'm discussing spending money, I'm discussing the fees that are associated with your portfolio, whether it's automation fees, swap fees, rebalance fees, even slippage. All that stuff is factored in, and all of that stuff is a portfolio leak. Those are silent killers within this industry that not a lot of people talk about, but we specifically go in depth on how to minimize those. And then of course, we aim to have your portfolio established in a scalable manner where you can compound that growth and consistently generate income so you can maximize returns within the bull market, or of course, have supplemental income that you can then rely on for your lifestyle. Again, this is the same exact solution and program that over 150 different people have gone through. Some of those are featured on our website, which we'll leave it linked right below this video if you guys want to check it out and see more details. There's a short little 11-minute video right here that you can watch, and that'll tell you everything you need to know about DeFi Legacy. And you can also scroll through this page and that will give you a bunch of supplemental information as well. But I want to talk about the actual implementation of this roadmap and what happens each phase. First thing that we do, number one, we build the portfolio or we rebuild the portfolio. We have people that come in with groups of positions, kind of like this. In that instance, we need to build the portfolio. And then we also have people that come in with portfolios just like this that need a rebuild because their portfolio is not performing well and they don't have the right strategies or the right positions. Their portfolio is just not doing well. So in that instance, we would rebuild the portfolio from scratch. But remember, when we're doing that, we have a data-driven and systematic approach in mind. We're not just doing a collection of different positions. We are actually rebuilding the portfolio in a scalable manner and a system is in place. And then of course, we optimize the strategy. Now that the portfolio is built, we have automated tracking systems, we have data, we can start to optimize it and see what quick wins we can implement in the portfolio to make sure we're earning the most income possible. And then after that, we scale the portfolio, making sure that our income efficiency is top line. And what that means is that we are spending the least amount to make the most amount, basically. And we truly are making the most amount. And then of course, we maximize growth potential, make sure that we have assets in that portfolio that have solid growth potential that are going to consistently grow within the bull market. And then of course, now that we've done those two things, we minimize the risk associated with the portfolio. That way we have both high income, good growth potential, and of course, lower risk. And we do that through these systems right here. So again, if you guys are interested in myself or my team coming into your portfolio, revamping it so you can consistently generate passive income and do it sustainably as opposed to just chasing high yields, I want you to head over to the link right below this video. It's going to say something along the lines of DeFi Legacy, and I want you to go ahead and hit the apply button. We are looking for serious investors with over $25,000 of capital to deploy. And of course, we want to make sure that you have prior experience within DeFi before. Otherwise, we will redirect you to one of our other solutions called DeFi Excel. So set aside 10 minutes or so to go through DeFiLegacy.com. After that, set aside 5 minutes to go through the actual application process, and then another 5 minutes to schedule in a time with one of my team members to see if number one, you're a good fit for DeFi Legacy, but also to make sure DeFi Legacy is a good fit for you and we can actually help you. Again, we do only work with 15 people per month and we are looking for the most serious investors of them all, so make sure that's you before applying. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, drop a like, subscribe when notifications turned on, and of course, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.